As a responsible person with growing concerns for your privacy and personal liberty, you want to know where we're headed and what you can do about it. We ask the experts what you need to do to take prudent and responsible action to safeguard your family's wealth and well-being, and what basic first steps will help you to be aware and prepared. ReluctantPreppers.com.
If we could turn to a topic you alluded to in this interview, you said some strange things are happening in Iran. If you could expand on that, you were talking earlier before the interview about the risk of an attack on the U.S. from Iran for being blamed for 9/11 and sued for it. Could you expound on that?
Yeah, there was just recently a story, by the way, speaking of Trump, kind of dominating the media. Stories like this just kind of not get reported. Of course, this story wouldn't have been reported probably, even if Trump weren't around right this second. But regardless, there was a story that came out saying that basically a U.S. court had ruled that Iran was being ordered. They had ordered Iran basically to pay $7.5 billion to victims of the September 11th, 2001 attacks. They also ordered Iran to pay $3 billion to U.S. insurers who had to pay out due to the terror attacks. So basically what this U.S. court did was it determined that Iran was responsible for the 9/11 attacks. Now, their evidence, there was none. In fact, the reason why Iran was found guilty was because, according to the judgment, they failed to prove that they did not help the bombers. In essence, they were guilty until proven innocent. Forget that the 15 of the 19 hijackers on 9/11 were Saudi nationals.
Saudi, right?
None of them were Iranians. The other ones were from Sunni countries. Forget that the FBI worked diligently to whitewash Saudi Arabia's role in 9/11. Forget that Shiite Iran despises Sunni and especially Wahhabist groups like Al-Qaeda. Forget that Al-Qaeda's bookkeeper, Moussaoui, claimed under oath that the Saudi royal family was aware of and directly involved in financing the 9/11 attacks. And pay no mind to the secret 28 pages withdrawn from public view in the 9/11 Commission report that shows direct Saudi Arabian involvement in 9/11, according to everybody who has read it. But they can't say anything about it because you can only read that if you are of certain intelligence level in the U.S. government. And several of our U.S. senators have read it. One of them in particular is Bob Graham. Bob Graham has read that, Senator Bob Graham. He is no longer in office, and he has written several books trying to get the American people to wake up to demand access to these secret 28 pages that have been withdrawn from the public's view because they were deemed to be too sensitive. Well, there's nothing too sensitive here. 3,000 people died on September 11th, and now we're hearing that Iran did it. Now we're hearing that Iran's responsible. If I were Iran, I might consider bombing the U.S. at this point. I mean, what else do you have to do to this country? What else? I mean, how? And at the same time, by the way, this is so ironic. The judge who made this ruling against Iran is the same judge who ruled last year that Saudi Arabia has sovereign immunity for 9/11. And so they can't be sued for it. So, you have this great irony where you have a U.S. judge basically saying Saudi Arabia has sovereign immunity. We can't look into what they did. We can't see if they have any approval for Al-Qaeda. We can't help it that the bin Ladens are related to are directly commingling with the Saudi royal family. We can't help it that 15 of the 19 hijackers were Saudis. We can't help it that the Saudis are dropping U.S. bombs on Yemeni civilians. We can't help any of that, but we can sue Iran. And then they go on the media all the time and tell you to be worried about Iran, where Iran has never attacked the modern state of Israel. Saudi Arabia did in 1948. They did in 1967 again. And Saudi Arabia has been involved. Saudi Arabia is protected because of our petrodollar system. But one day, and you mark my words, one day, they're going to come around and Saudi Arabia is going to say, we might want to take some gold for our oil, or they might come up with some sort of harebrained scheme like they're going to take their own currency for their oil. Yeah, we're going to take our own currency for our own oil. Imagine that. And the day they do that, suddenly their protection will completely be gone. You'll start hearing all kinds of terrible things about Saudi Arabia. You don't hear a single negative thing about Saudi Arabia except from the foreign press. And they're always talking about how Saudi Arabia is killing half their people, beheading them in the streets. They look just like ISIS. And but we're told to worry about Iran. It's unbelievable. I'm actually speechless when I read this article that the U.S. government would think we are that stupid. They would blame 9/11 on Iran and fine the Iranian government $10.5 billion. I think it's this kind of hubris that's going to get us attacked.
And as you point out, these redirections of public interest away from, either these stories not being covered or covered underneath stories that have much less impact or real import, it really leads one of the other missions of our channel here is what's really going on and where are we headed. So we really appreciate you bringing out a side of this that we're not going to be hearing on the corporate media. And if you could also weigh in on one more current topic, and that is the Bank of England declaring war on Bitcoin. What is that going to mean for the liberty and privacy of individuals in a cash society where they've been able to use cash to maintain privacy of transactions?